Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Academy climbing race out on the Innsbruck Lutzer course. We are going to be doing the climb out there today twice. Well, I'm not going to be, but the Zwift Academy participants are going to be the Team Dimension Data as well as the Canyon SRAM Men and Women's Zwift Academy. Need to complete 2 races, and one of those races today will be, there's 3 of them that you can do, and there's a TT, there is a crit race, as well as a climb race. And so today's race out on the Innsbruck course can fulfill one of those 2 races. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Riders are about to be getting out onto the course. About 45 seconds to start. Both the men's and the women's race will be starting at the same time. It looks like we've got about 21 participants jumping into the men's race. 21 in the A category that I joined. There are 4 categories out there for the racers. It does look like there's a lot more than that on ZwiftPower.com. All the results will be tracked on ZwiftPower.com as well. And the racing's going to be fast and furious from the get-go as usual. We'll be following along with the men and the women as they get along. If you do want to interrupt the broadcast, you do have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and comment over on the Facebook post. We'll make sure to be following along. Bring your questions and comments right on in. The course today is going to be 2 times. We do see Chris Hewitt coming on through with a question right away, and let's go ahead and answer that. So the course today is going to be 2 times up the Lutzer climb. So one time, I believe both times, is forward, and the finish actually will be up at the KOM. So that is where things are going to be at. And as usual, the pace is absolutely flying. And as we can see, there was 21 that jumped into the A category, but 183 men have jumped out on course here looking to try and challenge. And this is a really great course out here today to really show off who has the climbing legs, who has the ability to kill it on about a 20-minute climber. So we are seeing Mike Szymanski actually here from the KRT team jumping out there. Brandon Maltintalo, a very well-known racer from the KRT team. What I'm going to be interested in today is watching who might be showing off though for that top 10 finalists. These kind of races, especially those that we're going to be broadcasting, I think we're going to have a few riders that are going to be coming out of the woodwork that might start showing off their abilities during some of these races. If you have any shout outs throughout the broadcast at all, make sure to let us know, and we will be following along who you think might be taking the W's out there today. The women are out on course as well. Let's go ahead and see how things are playing out over there. We've got about 17 women that have jumped out on course. It does look like A. Webster's out here from the Vixen team. Emma Wilkinson, Mary Wilkinson's out there as well. Super strong rider riding for the KRT team. Reitzma is there as well as Kay Flores. It does look like there is a lead group of about 4 women that have jumped off the front right from the get-go. 8 seconds back, it will be Jokowitz as well as Willoughby. Actually, a group of about 3 or 4 women then chasing them. 5 women, excuse me, with M. Tori there taking up the caboose there for the for this pack of 5 that's going to be trying to chase down the riders up ahead. Now, they are going to be jumping onto the climb pretty quickly within the first 2 kilometers or so. That's going to be starting to climb up toward the top of the KOM. It's about a 20 to 25 minute climb, so I think riders are going to be trying to reserve a little bit of energy. It isn't about an all-out effort like you would want to see in from start to finish. This is all about winning the race. So the tactics and your ability to go when you need to in order to try and take that W is most likely what those who are watching the Zwift Academy participants are going to be looking for out there today. Looking through a quick little explanation, we are getting a couple more questions here about what the course is all about and what today is about. So it is taking place in the new Innsbruck course. We are out on the new World Championship course 2018 UCI, and it is the Lutzer course. And the race is only 15 miles, 24 kilometers long, but it climbs 2,700 feet, 827 meters. Race finishes in grand style. It is at the top of the KOM, but it's 2 times up. So 1 time up to the top, descend, and then the second time to the top, it's going to be for the W. Still a large pack of guys up toward the front of the men's race right now. Let's go ahead and see how things are playing out over there. It does look like up toward the front. A and B category fairly well mixed. Now, it was interesting when I went to sign up for the event with our streaming account. It was interesting at the front end of the selection for the categories. It was a B category, and then C, and then D, and then A was all the way at the back. I'm wondering if that had something to do with, I'm unsure about this. I haven't heard from ZHQ on this, but if that had something to do with it showing me what it thought the category I should be in, or just for some reason the A's were at the back and the B's were at the front there. But I did see quite a few riders that usually jump into the A category did jump into the B category today, so I'm wondering if maybe they just selected the one that was all the way to the left. We do see Southern here riding for the HIK team, giving a little bit of a kick. 529 watts here, 6.3 watts per kilogram. We'll give him a ride on. Currently in the first place position right now. If you look over his shoulder, you can see he's starting to get a little bit of a gap already. In the C category, we do see Snyman. They're coming out of South Africa, but at 177 beats per minute is getting a little bit of a gap, and perhaps looking to go solo off the front for the duration of this race. It'll be a difficult day out on the bike. Well, here's the thing though, if he is just the strongest rider out on course for the climb, with 2 climbs in succession and just a descent, if he gets enough time, he could take the W in this manner. But it's going to be difficult because on that descent, it's one of the fastest descents I've ever seen out on Zwift, actually. Very easily able to get your speed, top speed achievements out on that descent, actually breaking 60 miles per hour on the downhill. But it does look like it would be caught very quickly. Ott now dragging him back in, coming from the US of A. No hurry monitor on this rider, so will not be able to take the W out there today if the rules are the same as they usually are over on ZwiftPower.com. But here's Veras here now making his way to the front there from Brazil. But it looks like toward the front end of this pack now it is Van Eyck. Lots of position changing early on here, 6% graded. As it does start to bump up a little bit, I think we're going to start to see who actually are the strongmen here out in this race, as I think a few might have had a little bit of, getting a little bit of jitters early on, trying to find their way toward the front, but then start to fade as those who actually are the climbers will start to make their way toward the front end of this pack. But it is about a 20-minute climb, so there's a lot of climbing yet to come, and I think it's going to take a solid 5, even up to 10 minutes to really show who the cream of this crop is amongst these riders right now. So this is the situation for the men's race. In the women's race then, for the Zwift Academy Canyon SRAM, it does look like Webster up here right along with Wilkinson. Mary Wilkinson, Webster, side by side. KRT versus Vixen out there. 5.2 watts per kilogram solid here coming from Webster. Mary Wilkinson there as well, 5.1 watts per kilogram. And it looks like they're fairly evenly matched. About 26 seconds back then solo here. It will be Reitzma there, followed very closely by Croucher there riding for Team Fear, it looks like. E. O'Connor right on her wheel. Flores then following as well, coming out of Japan. And then it looks like another pack then. This pack actually split off, it looks like, from the initial pack that formed up front, and also gained 1 extra rider. That initial chase group of 5 has split then with Jokowitz and K. O'Neill there. It does look like Troy Vilobella there, with a couple more starting to come up and make the chaser with K. O'Neill and Willoughby, only about 6 seconds back now. Laundry there out of Canada, about 9 seconds back from that group. And Lindholm here coming out of Sweden. We'll give her a ride on as she tries to make the juncture up to the other riders. 145 beats per minute, it looks like here. Maybe plenty left in the legs. We'll have to wait and see there. 169, 170 though, coming from Laundry here out of Canada. Willoughby there up in the 155, and then K. O'Neill 173. Starting to fall off the pace of Jokowitz just a little bit there out of Poland as she tries to pull away with Vilobella. Flores then 6 seconds up out of Japan. It looks like 154 or so, keeping it steady. A couple of the riders though up in those 170s, 180s, if they are over threshold, are going to start paying for that pretty quickly out there, as they're only about 3 minutes into the climb or so. Wilkinson with it looks like Webster now starting to go down the attack here at 4.8 watts per kilogram, getting a little bit of a distance. 8 meters actually is outside of the draft, and Webster, who was initially on the lead, looks to be on the back foot now as Wilkinson starts to make the attack at 187, 188 beats per minute. We'll give her a ride on, but it may be curtains in just a moment here as Wilkinson takes the attack for KRT now. 8% gradient. These are the points on the climb that you're going to want to try and get away, especially as we get into those orange to red gradient numbers now. 170 beats per minute. I think that's well within threshold effort for Wilkinson. I think she's just starting to turn the screws just a little bit and is going to start walking away to take the W out here. Definitely one of the strongest riders we've ever seen for the women out on Zwift. Back in with the men's race, though, things are starting to heat up and the pace is starting to get little too hot for a few riders here. We do see Orgill here falling off. We're going to go ahead and give him a ride on. Somehow we just gave 30 ride-ons actually for the big fan there. It looks like on our streaming account there. But moving forward, let's go ahead and see how things are happening toward the front of the race. It does like D. Ewan here out of Poland, riding for Team Poland. 5.5 watts per kilogram on the front at that 10% gradient right now. Neep there now as well. The Netherlands 5.5 at 180. Just stuck right to that wheel, not letting this rider go anywhere. Agner there, it looks like, riding for WBR right on that wheel as well. All these heart rates, 180, 179, 187, 189. Looks like Melting Talo, though, the Melting Man out of Canada, riding for KRT, almost back on the wheel. And we said early, Brandon is one of the strongest riders we've ever seen out on Zwift for sure. We'll see if he's able to hang on to this, though. Usually not the strongest climber, but able to get back on terms, it looks like. Voss here now, it looks like, hanging onto the wheel too out of the Netherlands. It looks like Crape here riding for Zert out of South Africa. We did see him with a solid effort, actually, over the weekend in the South African National Championships. So we'll see if he can hang on all the way to the top here. Did show that he had plenty of climbing legs out on the Watopia Volcano course. It does look like we do have a lead group now, though, of 7 riders amongst the men. 4 seconds back, Van Eyck trying to close this down with Brennan. Bark, it looks like then an arrow power up here coming from Brennan, though, out of Ireland here. Let's see if he can close this down on this 1% grade. This is the time to use that arrow power up and close that gap, as the reduced drag on the Avatar is definitely going to be to the advantage at this point, and grabs right back on the wheel. Now we've got 8 up at this point. Van Eyck trying to get back on terms. No heart rate, so we can't really see where things are at for him. The man out of Belgium also on Z power, so unable to actually take the W, but a ride on to him as he looks like he's working pretty hard here. 110 RPMs though. Back up to the front though. Still, Ewan just setting a solid pace, 5 to 5.5 all day long, it looks like here. And I think we're going to be looking at a sub 20 here at this kind of a pace for the men, but it's still only about not even quite halfway to the top. And the riders here in that straight strung out line, you can tell that definitely a serious effort just trying to hang on from the riders. Now let's go ahead and see how things are going with our social media integration here. If you have any questions or anything coming on through, we do see Lisa Popovich coming on through saying, I'd love to join, but I have an Android and apparently don't support. Well, Android actually, Lisa, that is a great comment coming on through. And if you do want to jump on, you can download the beta for Android as long as it is a supported model at this point. So there is the beta is open on Android at this point. So if you do want to jump out on Zwift with your Android device, check and see if it is supported. Go ahead and search in the Play Store for the beta download of Zwift. Early attacks, I hope they know it's up twice. We're seeing from Johnny. Yep, is going to be a long day in the saddle for some of the riders who might not know that it is. And Victor coming on through. Great to see you stream again, Nathan. Been a while, mate. The race today is only going to be asking how long is it going to be. How long is the race going to be? The race today is probably going to be right around 50 minutes or so. I'm going to predict for the men 2 times up to the top of the climb, being about 12 minutes into the race so far at this point, and about halfway up the climb, a little less than halfway up the climb. I have a feeling that we are most likely going to see some crazy fast times up on the top, as these riders are going to be very motivated to show off the best form that they possibly can, especially those who are going for that top 10 overall for the finalists in the Zwift Academy for both Team Dimension Data and the Canyon Tram on the women's side of things. But it is a 17-second gap back to Bark here, as well as Ortiz, as well as D'Ott here out of the US of A. So lots of mayhem here, lots of riders that have fallen off pace and biting the dust off the back here. But Hyman here, Sasuga coming out of Japan, Orgil, as we said earlier, riding for innovation, trying to hang on to the wheels here. But front group at this point is about 9 riders. Van Eyck here still trying to hang on that Z-Power. Looks like he will be able to do so at a solid 5 watts per kilogram, spinning to win right now. The Exert rider here actually, 6'6" real quick there. 166. Voss there now taking up the lead. Looked like Voss was actually sitting in the wheels for a little while, just waiting for this moment. Now into that 10% grade. Now we're going to see who is who, I believe, as we start getting into the sharper end of the climb now. Crabe here from Exert, actually. Egner there as well, and Knipe now. Now they're starting to get a little bit of a gap there over Brennan. And Scott, 192 beats per minute. And as I said earlier, once we hit this 10-minute or so mark into this climb, for a VO2 max effort, everything you got right around that, when you go over threshold, it's that 8 to 10 minutes you can throw down well over threshold, for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then if you've given everything you got, it's out the back. And I predict right around this next 2 to 3 minutes, if anybody is really struggling, we're going to start seeing, as you can see here, 195. This rider, Jay Scott here from PTZ, had started about 190 before we hit this 10% part, about 10 minutes in, and now we see the heart rate slowly going out, beat by beat. Actually, over the last minute, he's risen by about 7 beats so far. So I have a feeling at this point is really when the riders are going to start being put into the hurt locker, and this is going to be the moments when riders who can start to shine and break things apart are going to need to really put on the pressure. About that halfway to 3/4 of the way to the top, that is the time to really start to put the pressure on the other riders. Ewan here now, as you can see, still just setting it all day long at about 180 beats per minute. It's probably right around the threshold. 4.6 now, backing off just a little bit as it lowers that gradient, but really started to put the pressure on at that 10%. Now knowing that it's going to be an easier day to hang on to the wheels, backs off a little bit, doesn't want to do too much work as Egner sits in on the wheel, 185 there, Neep there, 183, 270 watts or so. Voss sitting in, it looks like, as well as Crabe. Melting Tallow able to hang on, 162 beats per minute, and then Jay Scott still there, but Van Eyck there, 5 watts per kilogram, trying to claw his way back, keeps on falling off the back. Bark here, not giving up. 4.5 watts per kilogram. Going to need a serious effort to close down that 15 seconds, but it's not all said and done for Bark. We'll see if the German rider can maybe put in a solid effort up toward the top. I think definitely one of the heavier riders out on course with a lot of power, though. So we'll see if he can try and use some of that raw wattage on the downhill here coming up in just a moment to try and close that gap down. Back in with the women's race, though, I believe Wilkinson is really stamping her dominance on this race at this point, up into that 4.8 watts per kilogram or so, sticking right around that 170 to 174. She actually broke weight about 171 beats per minute. It looks like she continues on at this pace to open up the gap. Webster there with 26 seconds back, not letting her get away full on with a minute or two, so keeping her within her sights. Maybe on the second time up onto the top, she might be able to close that gap down if Wilkinson fades at all. But knowing Wilkinson, I have a feeling she's going to have this kind of a TT effort all the way to the end. Webster maybe thinking about Reitzma, as well as perhaps a few of the other riders behind that will be in a pack that might be able to chase things down. But Reitzma here now, as you can see, sitting in 3rd place. It is going to be solo TT efforts between the top 3 most likely. She'll be needing to worry about a little bit the 2 riders chasing her down, as they'll be able to work together on the downhill. Looking through some of the comments coming on through here, we're seeing the climb race Sunday morning finished at about 45 minutes. Gustav is letting us know. Thanks a lot, Gustav. Appreciate the comment there. Very helpful, actually. So about 45 minutes is what we're looking at for the men's, I'm guessing there. Maybe about 50 for the women's. Jamie Lee is saying, I did the race on Sunday. First real Zwift race. Was good. Great to hear your take on this race and see other Zwifters, I'm assuming, tackle the course. Thanks a lot, Jamie Lee. Right, appreciate the comments. And Sarah Blanco saying 197. And yeah, there's definitely some high heart rates out there today. Zwift, you know, riding indoors on the trainer with the motivation that you get from the other riders around you. Some of the actually, I think the highest heart rates I've seen in the last 10 years have been out on Zwift and during the Zwift races. I believe I saw a 197 actually a few weeks ago during some of the Dig Deep coaching workouts that I was doing with your guys' witnesses, actually witnessing it. It might have had something to do with the live stream as well, because you were all witnessing me having to complete the workout, and I wasn't failing. There was no way that was happening. I think you get something similar out here for these races as well, as there's a lot of pressure, not only because of the reality of riding against others and just wanting to win, but also the reality of the Zwift Academy, wanting to show off and what kind of numbers you can have and compare yourself against all the others that are in the program. It's a great way to really push yourself out on course here. So for those of you just tuning in, we are on the new Innsbruck course, World Championship course on the Lutzer course, and it is going to be 2 times up to the top of the King of the Mountain, Queen of the Mountain out here today. We are on our first climb, almost to the top at this point, and this is one of the fastest times I think we're going to see in a while here. 8% gradient, as you can see on the upper right hand corner right now, the mini map, and you can see there are just about, I'd say about 1/8 of the climb left to go, maybe a little bit more than that. So definitely starting to get to the pointy end of the climb. You might start to see a couple of attacks, as a lot of times at the top of a climb like this, you wait until the final K or so to really get a gap. And because you know that there is only about a 1, 2, maybe 3 minute time that you can really put in a VO2 max effort or a sprint type effort up toward the top of the climb. You can't do that all the way to the top, but if you really put the pressure on up toward the pointy end of the climb, and then you see these attacks up toward the very top, and if you can blow up anybody's legs behind you, they can be done for the rest of the day, and you can really break a few riders off, take some speed up over the top, and get away. Bark here, this is quite the effort from Bark, because you are seeing 6 watts per kilogram right now, 570 watts. The German rider from ZRG absolutely burying himself to get back on terms here. Look at the grind coming from this rider. 48 RPMs, pure force and strength. Just nothing but torque here coming from Bark right now, as you can see. And I am not on the right. I am not actually on the right scene whatsoever. But with the men's race here, sorry about that. But Bark, the entire time here, 48 RPMs that we see from him. Melting Tallow only 5 seconds up from them right now. Absolutely demolishing themselves. Ewan now 5.0 watts per kilogram. Voss now 4.1. Crabe there from Exert there. Egner now Melting Tallow. Scott now as well. And 4 seconds is the only difference. Neeb now falling off pace. And this is what I was talking about for the riders. Once you get up toward the top of the climb, that's the moment that you really want to try and get away, as you know that other riders have absolutely that are not quite at the same level that you are at. They're going to be at their limit, and if you have any kick, those are the moments that you can try and get away. Bark was trying to close it down, and it looks like it may not be happening, as we do see Crabe as well as Egner and Ewan now starting to kick. As we were saying, they know it's only about a minute or 2 at this point to the top of the climb, and now it's up into the 6.5 watts per kilogram. Ewan full on at this point. Adam J. Pearson, thanks a lot for the comment. Yep, we got it, and we are back into the men's race here. Crabe here, Egner, Melting Tallow 4.5, and Jay Scott now. Voss now 2 seconds off the back, and it looks like Ewan might be trying to get away. I think we're going to end up with a group of 6, though, at the front end of this race now. Crabe here, Egner now up in the 8 watts per kilogram. As you can see, the feather power up now being blown. For those of you who do not know, the feather power up lowers your watts per kilogram by about 1 watt per kilogram. increases your watts per kilogram by about 1 watt per kilogram. So you gain a lot of speed on those uphills, and we are seeing a solid effort here now from Agner. 18-minute climb as it went into those orange numbers. Melting Tallow trying to hang on, throws down that arrow power up. I'm wondering if he did that right before the climb, or right before the KOM, or if he threw that down as he came through because he picked it up. But I have a feeling it was right before, taking some speed and rolling the dice and what he might get on the way down. So we are seeing a drafting power up, it looks like, from Ewan. Perhaps Ewan was holding on to that as well through the KOM there, and is going to have another power up sitting in. But I have a feeling maybe not. Are we 30 seconds back or past the KOM yet? I'm not positive. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of power-ups the riders were hanging on to, as they're going to have one more time up to the top. But 15 seconds, Voss was unable to hang on. 175 beats per minute, so it looks like in full-on recovery mode on the downhill here. These riders do see that they do have a gap, so it is an attack at this point. Ewan here sitting in 3.6 watts per kilogram, 163 beats per minute. Agner there as well, 3.9, 182. Melting Tallow now going to the front, 6 watts per kilogram, knows that they have a gap, they want to open this up at this point. And on these downhills, 11%, 12% downhill gradient, 66 kilometers per hour, really starting to open up the gap. Now we'll see what kind of kilometers per hour these riders can get to, as they're only doing about 3.7 or so. The gaps are going to absolutely go out with the large pack up front, 66, 67 or so. Up toward the front here, 79 kilometers per hour. So as you can see, already out to 29 seconds. So this chase group has given up the ghost, it looks like, at this point, and it's going to be a race for 5th. Looking back now, Van Eyck here trying to get back on turns. Actually, no, getting into the Sagan tuck, as you can see here. Will be Neep there now, about 52 seconds back from the next rider up. 139 back from the leaders. Bark, who was only about 10 seconds back. Look how quickly that can go out when the attacks go on. As we were saying, that 1 minute or so to the very top, one of the most important times out on course, is you can open up huge amounts of time if you take that speed up over the top and kick into these orange numbers, as we saw those attacks through the KOM. 18-minute climb. As you can see, we did see then the time there from Bark up over the top. We'll see if we can actually get this in here. I'm not actually seeing it in the overall data at the moment here. We'll see if we can find it in there, but it looks like Bark is not registered just as of yet. But I have a feeling most likely right around an 18:30 or so for Bark, as he did come up on the top right around with Neep, but as you can see, already out 153. These riders most likely be together all the way to the bottom and climb together. Anybody who is reserving anything, I think, is going to really start to attack. Be waiting for some attacks, serious attacks, the moment that they do hit the bottom of that climb again. Let's jump on over to the women's race here, see how things are going for Wilkinson. It looks like 4:08 up, actually, up from the rider from Team Fear. Looks like Wilkinson here just continues to open up the gap, absolutely demolishing the climb, just coming up from the top of the climb, actually, into 2033 for Wilkinson from the KRT team. Webster there, 3.9 watts per kilogram, just about to round up over the top there. 123 up from Reitzma. Still, nothing but no women's lamb. TT mode for all of these riders. No packs really out there, as this is definitely a climb that can break things apart very quickly. If there isn't very evenly matched, the drafting is very difficult on this climb, as you have 10%, 11%, 12% grades over and over again. Definitely lends to absolutely demolishing the fields out there, and everybody just out there for themselves, absolutely putting everything they can into the pedals just to hang on to the wheel in front of them if they can. But it does look like E. O'Connor here now, about 25 seconds back, 153 beats per minute, 155 watts or so. Jokowitz now trying to chase that down, about 24 seconds back. We'll go ahead and give her a ride on as well. Kay O'Neill there, it looks like, as 3.0. And this looks to be a battle here, though. Have to watch this, as all the other time gaps up ahead. Perhaps O'Connor could close it down to Croucher, but it looks like for the top three right now, there is solid minutes between them. So there may be a gap that be closed down between Croucher, Connor, O'Connor as well as Jokowicz there, and then Kay O'Neill. So this looks to be a battle within a minute of each other. Any rider that put a little bit too much out up front might find themselves caught on the second time to the top. So we'll keep an eye on the women's race here for these three riders. Wilkinson, of course, though, still on the downhill here. Huge gap up to her from that KRT team. A couple more comments coming on through here. Carissa, good to see the admin coming on in. Carissa Bramhall. For those of you who do not know, she is one of the admins for some of the community groups out there, coming through with some chatter saying, ouch, I was wondering how much it would split. Going to be tough for those who are on their own between the climbs. I think there's going to be a lot of coasting, Carissa, on the downhills, and then just trying to keep the pace as high as possible once they do hit the flatter sections. I mean, really, the coasting on the downhill is what it's going to be all about. And then from there, really, it's just another FTP effort or more all the way to the top. There are essentially 20-minute efforts to the top. It's everything you got. There's no holding back. What do you got to the top? 20 minutes all out. What'll be interesting to me is to see if the times are actually faster, though, on the uphills for the second time up, or if the riders put everything they had into the first time up. We are looking here at Wilkinson now from the KRT. Let's go ahead and see the last time that these riders did race and what kind of stats we do have on them, actually, as there are plenty of those over at ZwiftPower.com. If you haven't done so already and you're wondering what racing is all about on Zwift and you're going to jump into some races, make sure that you check out ZwiftPower.com. They are a third-party API partnered app, website to Zwift. So you can connect your Zwift account to ZwiftPower.com. And ZwiftPower.com actually then takes all the data from your rides and everybody else's that has opted into this and categorizes it, puts it into race results, tracks it for you. It's a great resource, and all the race results lie within ZwiftPower.com. So head on over to ZwiftPower.com, check out the results there. If you haven't opted in already and you're going to be racing and you want to share your data for racing, you go ahead and head on over to Zwift.com, log in, check out My Connections over there, and go ahead and opt in to Zwift Power. And you will be able to then be tracked and get into the results over at ZwiftPower.com. Looking through for the men's race, though, as we do have, it looks like Ewan, who's definitely been the aggressor, does have a 3-second gap, actually, at this point at 5.6 watts per kilogram. Agner's right along with him, actually, who is leading things out for the WBR team, actually. So it is Dominic Ewan right along with Agner. And I'm going to go ahead and see where things have been at for Ewan for the past few races. I'm actually not seeing, what's interesting to me, Agner, I'm not seeing him in the race results right now, so I'm perhaps not opted in over at ZwiftPower.com, so maybe not be able to take the win out to there. But Dominic Ewans, he's got 69 races out on Zwift, riding for Team Poland. Recently took a 6th place in the, it looks like, Zwift Academy climb race, actually 2 days ago, back on August 26th. So jumping into another one here. Does look like also took an 11th place back on the 25th with the Zwift Academy race TT. Both those times averaging 4.5 and 4.4 watts per kilogram respectively, actually. So solid results for him. Took a win back on the 14th, actually, in the WBR 3-lap race. So definitely a strong climbers. We are seeing an average of about 5+ watts per kilogram for 5 minutes or so. We are seeing him averaging up into 4.5 or so, 4.8 watts per kilogram actually for a WBR flat race, actually. So definitely can throw down some serious numbers. But Agner here now is starting to get a little bit of gap over Ewan now, as it looks like, at about 5.5 watts per kilogram. And right from the go, it looks like wanting to get away, was reserving a little bit the WBR rider here for this moment, it looks like. Crabe here now from Exert being followed up by Melting Talo. Melting Man here now just hanging onto the wheel with the fastest time for the KOM, but it looks like Agner might be looking to take down that KOM jersey if he does have some extra energy. The interesting thing here now, though, is we are seeing Voss here and Van Eyck and Jay Scott closing things down, and we were wondering about this early on. as they were making their way up over the top of the first climb, whether or not the riders had used too much energy, and perhaps a few riders letting them go, knowing that perhaps they could bring back that 30 seconds or so that they allowed to get away with. And any of these riders that do have still in the reserves a 5 to 6 watts per kilogram effort to the top. Jay Scott, as you can see here, 191 beats per minute, really starting to turn the screws a little bit on the rest of the riders here. Catches right up to Melting Man, and it looks like Melting Tallow here now falling off the back here. Scott now really driving the pace right along with Van Eyck. Voss here now 6.0 watts per kilogram, who did fall off the back as well, now closing it down to 20 seconds on Ewan. So it looks like the race is not said and done. Still, within these top 5 to 6 riders, it's anybody's race now, as they are almost about halfway up the climb now at this point. Only about 10 to 15 minutes of racing left to go. So it's all or nothing at this point. Just 10 minutes of your life. What do you got? Egner looks like he has about 5.4 watts per kilogram and a steady 189 beats per minute. Now, I wish we could get some more information here for you all on Egner, but not opted in over at ZwiftPower.com, so we'll have to give him a reminder to opt in the future, actually. So a couple more questions and comments coming on through here, and it looks like Victor Klinkvis coming on through. 20-minute efforts, he's saying, with exclamation marks and question marks here. Watching this, I'm happy I have a back injury and can't join the race. I would be dropping dead on the floor doing that. Victor, well, we're not happy that you have a back injury, but a little bit of avoidance there, maybe, perhaps not the, well, hopefully we'll get you back on the bike, and I'll join you for some 20-minute efforts. Maybe not for the climb itself, but we'll have to get out there and do some 2x20s. Chris also out there saying, yep, depending on how fast you are, it's a built-in 2x20 workout if you can recover on the descent. It definitely is. Depending on how fast you are, for sure, though. Not everybody's going to be doing this in 20 minutes. And Daniel Bennett also coming in saying this is a really good course to race on. It does seem like it. Now, there were different opinions out there. I would love to hear all of your opinions out there, actually. Is this a good race course, or is it not? Because according to Independs, Greg Leo and some of the racing community out there, they think that the course that is down below in Innsbruck on the more of a crit-like course with the little 8% gradient, 30-second climb in it or so, that's a really good race course. But as a climber personally, I kind of like this one. I'm with you there. I like the kicks, especially the kind of climb that this is too, because it goes to like a 3%, 2%, and then back up to these sharp kicks, and then it goes back down to a 1%, and then a sharp kick. You kind of have these tactical moments on the climb rather than just all out steady to the top. There are definitely more tactical moments with this climb. So I think that it definitely does lend to a little bit of drafting on this climb here and there, followed by extreme kicks to try and get away and break your opponents that are around you here. But it looks like Egner here, speaking of breaking opponents, still trying to do so. 7 seconds up, it looks like, on Ewan, but Ewan is not letting him get away. 188, 189 looks to be that threshold for Egner. We'll see if he can hold on to this, but Ewan here, 5.2 watts per kilogram, just holding on to that gap, not letting it get away. It's going to be super interesting to see if the effort can be consistent all the way to the top, and if Ewan is going to be able to throw down a kick to close this down, as he was the main aggressor all the way to the top. It does look like Egner was the patient one, though, and is now showing that there was plenty in reserve for Egner. So Voss here now, who I thought was said and done for the day, now sitting in third place, was off the back by like 30, 40 seconds actually on the downhill. Now throwing down 5.4 watts per kilogram out of the Netherlands here. Can this Dutchman close it down? It's only 35 seconds, and he seems to have about 5.3 watts per kilogram, consistently higher at times than the leaders in this race. So we'll see, though. But now as it does flatten out a little bit, doesn't look like the 5+ is there. It does look like it is more of a situation where was trying to close up as much as he possibly could on the steeper parts, but does not have the consistency of the effort to close things down. But now back up to Egner here, 5.3 watts become 187. Does look like 5 seconds. Ewan now does look to be closing it down. Back down to 4.5 though. We'll have to wait and see as they get closer to the top. About halfway to the top here. Just jump back in with the women here. Wilkinson here. Still killing it off the front. 117 though. Has given up a little bit of time as she had a huge amount of time over Webster on the downhill here, but Webster here closed it down a little bit there on that descent, but Wilkinson still 4.5 watts per kilogram, 181 beats per minute as they just start their climb. Reitsma here, 155 back, it looks like here. Where are the rest of the riders here? Here they are, 7th place here currently for Jokowitz. It will be Kay O'Neill at 57 seconds up from her. E. O'Connor here still at 221, so it does look like things have really spread out between the riders actually out on course for the women. And in 4th place it will be Croucher here now, as O'Connor, O'Neill, and Croucher here currently sitting in the 4th, 5th, and 6th place. Jokowitz there all the way back in 7th there. Willoughby now 6 seconds back and looking to finish up the climb here with Flores there. This is going to be a battle between them, it looks like, on the downhill as they finish up the climb now. This look like the fast time there for Wilkinson, followed up by about 2.5 minutes back from Webster, riding for that Vixen team, and Reitsma there at 24 minutes now. So back up toward the front now. Just about to start a climb again. It looks like it's going to be Croucher here, and she's going to be able to give us a view to the front end of the race for the top 3 in just a moment there. And there they are, Reitsma, Webster, and Wilkinson. 5:54 up from her. KRT team 169 beats per minute still. So looking through here, let's go ahead. We haven't actually looked at the live results currently for the women out there. So Mary Wilkinson, one of the strongest, again, that we've ever seen out on course. She actually participated, I believe, in some of the CVR events as well, and absolutely dominated the CVR World Cup actually. So good to see her. Yeah, she was actually at the Vancouver and won the overall at the Vancouver event. Solid effort from her. Took a silver, and 3 wins at that World Cup event. So definitely has proven that she's got these numbers not only on the virtual world, but in real life events as well. So Mary Wilkinson, always somebody to watch out for. And being a part of the Zwift Academy out here today, I'd watch out for her to be a finalist. This is one of the favorites, I would say, for sure, for the Women's Zwift Academy, being so incredibly strong, proving it in real life, and now walking away on this climb right now like this. Mary Wilkinson, definitely a contender in my estimation out there today. In the Zwift Academy group ride, taking a W, it looks like, well, not really a W, it's just a group ride, but she was doing, that's the last thing that she did out on Zwift back on the 21st. She did the WBR UCI World's Hilly Race. Took a 3rd place, actually, at 4.3 watts per kilogram. Interesting to see that she didn't take the win. But that was, it looks like, a mixed race. So, it looks like, yep, she took 3rd, and that was with the boys. So she won the race, Mary, and I was like, wait a second, 3rd place, what's going on? But that was only about 4 minutes back from Morten Vang, who's one of the strongest men I've ever seen out on Zwift, actually, who averaged 5.4 watts per kilogram and won the race, actually. Delian Samov then took 2nd in that race back on the 20th of August. And Mary took 3rd for the KRT team amongst the boys. Solid effort there from Mary Wilkinson now. 2 minutes back, though, will be Webster from Vixen. Let's take a look at some of her past results recently out on Zwift. Is definitely also a very strong rider coming out of Canada. I'm very familiar with this rider's name, as she was also a part of the CVR World Cup League back in the spring, taking some top spots, actually, 4th, 3rd, and some 2nds. Those are the last races that she's been doing all the way up until the Zwift Academy circuit race. She took a 3rd place, actually, back on the 20th in that. So this is her 2nd race amongst the riders, amongst the Zwift Academy, actually. So she did participate, it looks like, 8 days ago in the Zwift Academy circuit race. She took 3rd place behind Leah Brewer, as well as Caitlin Rice, both familiar names as well. And that was only a 5-second gap, actually, or so, that Angela lost by, averaging a solid 4.0 watts per kilogram. Looks like Leah Brewer, who beat her to the line by 1 second, just reserved a little more energy in that race at about 3.6 watts per kilogram. So a lot of the work there done by Angela from Team Vixen back on the 20th of August. So second race and looking to take a second place out there today. Angela Webster showing off that she's got what it takes to maybe be a contender as well in the Women's Zwift Academy. Now back in with the men's race, though. We are about to have we're getting close to the finish now for the men's race. We'll jump back in with the women in just a moment, but the attacks are left and right from the men, or maybe not attacks, but the race of attrition is really what we're looking at the front end of this race right now, with Agner and Ewan still battling it out for the W. Agner now just holding on to this 10 seconds. It's been a 10-second gap like this ever since about the bottom of the climb. Agner made the attack, opened things up over that first quarter of the climb or so, has held this 10 seconds all the way through. Ewan wondering if he's been holding anything in the reserves, waiting for the last moments, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think this is like, because 10 seconds on a climb like this is really like closing down 30 seconds to a minute on a flat. It is a huge effort to close down. He would have to be putting out 1 watt per kilogram higher for a good amount of time to close this down. We're going to have to see some serious sprint orange numbers. And the second that happens, Agner, you know he is going to respond. So we'll have to see. Ewan, if he wants to take the W out today, he is going to have to respond very quickly here. Really manage that effort to the top. But I have a feeling this is really all he's got left in the tank. We're about to see the banner here in just a little bit. Agner, 4.7 watts per kilogram. Ewan maybe starting to give up the ghost at this point a little bit here, as we're seeing drop back to about 14 seconds back. But it did give him a little bit of speed actually there, Agner, just a moment ago, as it did have a section of the course where it flattened out. Now into that 10% gradient. This is going to be the most important part actually of this final climb, because this is the steepest part they're going to have, I think, before the actual finish line. If Ewan has 6 watts per kilogram to give right now, he can close down so much time. 7 seconds. He's got to go right about now to bring this back. 8 seconds. It's holding right there. Agner now seeing that the gap is coming down, bumps it back up to 5.4 watts per kilogram. 188 beats per minute, as you can see here. Ewan now 173. Pretty consistent from both riders. None of them really causing their heart rates to fade out into any higher of a beating at this as they're beating their bodies at this point. We'll see if Ewan, I'm not sure he's going to make it happen here. 11 seconds. It might just be too much as they're about to come across the finish line. Looks like Agner most likely will be the winner on the day, as things are starting to flatten out here. Not going to be a whole lot more uphill to come. Let's hear your predictions, though, here. Will Ewan be able to make it happen? I think it's going to be Agner all the way to the line, though. No problem. Agner's got 5.4 and Ewan 4.8. We'll have to see if Agner can attach his Zwift account, though, over at ZwiftPower.com, as I'm not sure he can actually take the W officially out there today without being attached to ZwiftPower.com, as I'm not seeing him in the results currently. So let's go ahead and make sure, if you do know Agner, make sure to give him a reminder to attach his account if he wants to, as it is an opt-in on purpose after all the GDPR and everything. But it is an opt-in on purpose that you do need to opt in for the ZwiftPower.com connection. 17 seconds, not going to happen. It is going to be Agner. 6.8 watts per kilogram. One last ditch effort here to the line. It looks like 191 beats per minute. Absolutely killing it. 7.7 watts per kilogram. The battle behind here, Ewan doesn't look like he's going to have any challengers, and it is going to be Agner for the W at 190 beats per minute. Looks like he's got a few orange numbers showing off for us to the lines today, as this is going to be your winner for the Zwift Academy climb race out on the Innsbruck course. Solid effort here coming from Agner as he crosses the line. Great job to him. And looking back here as he crosses the line, let's get back into it, as it is going to be Ewan here looking to lap a few riders, it looks like, in the in the D and C categories. He comes on by 3.9 watts per kilogram. Doesn't have to do a whole lot there to get across the line in second place. And then it will be Van Eck here, 5.1 watts per kilogram on the Z power. So cannot take the win, I do not believe, but still solid effort there from him. Hyman here battling it out with Voss behind. This is going to be third place for Van Eyck coming out of Belgium. 6.6 watts per kilogram coming from Hyham. We'll give him a ride on as he tries to hold off Voss. Voss here, it's only a 3-second difference. Then will he be able to close it down for that fifth place? Doesn't look like it's going to happen. It will be Hyman right behind Van Eyck for third, fourth, most likely going to Hyman, barring some craziness from Voss here in just a second. As we look through, though, behind the rider Hyman here, not going to be happening. Voss then going to have to settle for fifth on the day. It does look like Scott was able to break away from the Melting Man, though, for that sixth place out there today. We'll go ahead and give him a ride on as well for that sixth place finish out there today. So that is going to be out through six. No more battles, I don't believe, that are going to be closed down anytime soon. Seventh place most likely going to the Mountain Man, barring any craziness or tease there. Going to be finishing up in eighth place. Then it will be Neep most likely for ninth, up in that 183 beast sprint. This might be a battle here between him and Brennan, though. Only a 10-second difference here. Brennan does have about 4.2 watts per kilogram, it looks like. So perhaps Brennan here gonna have his work cut out for him, though. He's starting to fade a little bit there, and it looks like 3.9 or so. 182 beats per minute, 170 beats per minute. Neep looks like he's going to be able to hold it off and stay away. The Melting Man here, but to come across here, it looks like he is going to hold on to that KOM jersey, I believe. We'll have to wait and see. I think this is going to remain the fastest time to the top, as the riders did fade a little bit. Melting Man giving us a little bit of show. He knows he's on the broadcast. He watches them all. Good to see him for the KRT representation there, giving us a little kick and a little bit of a show. Solid effort there across the line. Back to Mr. Lumpy here. M. Lumpy. Good to see him making his way to the top. And it will be Ortiz then. Eighth place. Back in with the women, though. Let's see what's happening with Wilkinson, as she's just about to finish up the last quarter of the race for the women's category. And Webster here starting to give a little bit of kick, still keeping it within almost 2 minutes, though. So definitely has managed that gap, actually, up to this point, able to keep it within what was initially gained over her by Mary. So solid effort there from Webster. But Mary Wilkinson here just showing what kind of an athlete she is at 4.5, 4.6 watts per kilogram or so. Hi, Ham. Sorry about that, Adam. Hi, Ham. Yeah, I appreciate the comment there. That's a real great pointing that out, Adam. That's almost like deleted right there. So good to see you there, Jerry Delport. Haven't listened to you in a long time. Voice of Zwift. Good to see you there, Jerry Delport. Really appreciate it. And that's quite a limb, judging by the amount of effort being expended coming there from passion. It definitely is. Looking through here, Joshua Momford now coming through. I don't even want to think about the sweat pouring off of these guys. Usually a huge fan is employed, actually, during Zwift racing, Joshua, actually, so a lot of times. So out of curiosity, Jamie Lee Wright is asking, does the Zwift Academy consolidate the race efforts into one final race result for each race, climb, TT, and so on? I do not believe so. We did do an interview, Jamie, with a couple of the representatives from Zwift HQ that are running the women's and the men's academies. And it looks like it's going to be focusing on the talents of the riders, specifically for each of the disciplines. That's why they are done the way they are done. A sprinter, somebody who can crit race, who's got big power bursts, will be looking at circuit races, showing off there. Somebody who's got a solid TT effort for 10 minutes to 15 minutes or so is going to be looking at the TT efforts. A lot of time rulers, riders who have that kind of a discipline in mind, and then obviously the climbers showing up for the climbing race here. But great question. Love the question there coming from Jamie. I do not believe they're going to consolidate them, though, into a single race, as far as my knowledge. Now, I might be incorrect about that, but I do believe that it's just going to be focused on the talents of the riders. Wilkinson still 4.3 watts per kilogram, as you can see. Webster 246. Looked like she's going to be able to hold on to this gap over Reitzma. And we'll make sure to we'll most likely stick with this race all the way through third place to at least get the top three across the line. But Wilkinson looks to be taking the W easily out here today. Scary Mary, they called her at the CVR. You can see why. One of the strongest women we've ever seen out on Zwift, as well as in real life. Paul Maury's in real life as well. 77 watts per kilogram, 482 watts, giving us a show. What an amazing effort here coming from Mary as she comes across the line. Gonna be the winner for the climb race out here today. Scary Mary killing it, and solid effort, breaking away on the first climb and letting us all know that she is a contender for the Zwift Academy. There she is in that women's kit for the KOM, or excuse me, Queen of the Mountain, QOM. Solid effort there coming from Mary. Let's go and see if we make our way back here. Hinton's here. Let's go see Dawes. There we go. Trying to make her way up toward the top, but there is Webster now sitting in second place now. Only about, it looks like, 2 minutes or so to go to the top here for Webster, for Vixen. Trying to keep that gap as much as she possibly can between herself and Reitsma out of the Netherlands. Croucher battling it out with O'Connor. It is O'Connor as well as Kay O'Neill with 13-second difference here, but O'Connor looks to be breaking away now. 3.2 watts per kilogram with Kay O'Neill, 2.8 or so. So it looks like O'Connor does have a little bit better effort there. Only about halfway up the climb, though. Still plenty of climbing to go here, but it looks like she is on the attack on the 7% gradient now. As Webster now 3.4 watts per kilogram, though. It looks like 182 beats per minute. And about a minute of climbing left to go, and she'll be done with her race today. Let's go ahead and see what the results are currently for the men's race, as we are looking for the women to finish up here today with Webster in second. And it looks like for those who are opted in, as it was Agner, we saw across the line in the replay. Well, we will in the live stream. But Dominic Ewan was the first rider across the line who is registered with ZwiftPower.com. Hopefully Agner will go ahead and connect his account and be able to be recorded in the results. But currently, according to the live results, for preliminary results on the day, Dominic Ewan from Team Poland comes across the line in 46.53 with an average watts per kilogram of 4.9 watts per kilogram, 328 watts, an average heart rate of 172 beats per minute. Jed Scott crossed the line in second, according to ZwiftPower.com, 104 back, riding for PTZ. The Melting Man there from the KRT team there in the preliminary results for third place there, as a few were removed on Z-Power or not opted in. Frank Michael Ortiz then across the line for fourth, followed up by Jerome Neep riding for Team Netherlands for fifth place. Matthias Bark there for the ZRG in sixth place. Then Kenan Hootman there in seventh, followed up by Takashi Suga out of Japan there for eighth. Bas Seldenrik out of the Netherlands riding for the HIK team in ninth place. And then Ed Gurney out of the UK for 10th. That's your top 10 in the men's race. And for the women's, we are about to see Webster here come across the line in just a moment. It does look like she is fading a little bit. It's going to be a little more than 2 minutes, I believe, back from Mary Wilkinson as she looks to finish up her race across the line. Reitzman will be taking third here at 2.9 watts per kilogram steady, and still has a good quarter of the climb to go. 304 up, it will be Webster here at 4.5 watts per kilogram right now. Any questions or comments? Go ahead and bring them on through. We'd love to hear all about them. If you're just tuning in, this is the Zwift Academy 2018 climb race, one of the climb races. You need to complete 2 races in order to finish your Zwift Academy. You have 3 options, though. You've got a circuit race or a crit style type race. You can do a TT as well as a climb out on the Innsbruck course, a climbing race on the Innsbruck course. 2 times up and over the top, the Lutzer climb. So go ahead and jump in. You can complete 2 of them. Once you complete 2, you've fulfilled your racing for the Zwift Academy. If you are looking to be a finalist or show off what you got, at least amongst the Zwift Academy, maybe also select those to show off what your amazing discipline might be. And I would also suggest maybe doing more than 2 if you're looking to show off all your disciplines, because it's definitely aimed at those specific disciplines for the Zwift Academy with the TT, the circuit race, as well as the climbing race out here today. So Looks like Webster did come across the line there. Second place, solid effort from her. We'll go ahead and take a look back here at the next riders are looking to cross the line for the women. We do have a lot of the men here looking to finish up here, making their way through. Looks like Szymanski, Lidson, and a few others back in the 70th, 60th, 59th or so places there as they make their way to the top. Let's jump back into the men's Zwift Academy as we're looking to see where they're going to finish up here. It does look like we're out in the open world now at this point. I think we're going to start losing the rest of the race. We might have to call it on the broadcast as we do start to lose some of the riders. We are actually, I believe, now we're lost at this point on this one. So we'll have to leave it alone at this point, I think, for the men's Zwift Academy. And I believe we've also lost the women's race. So we're going to go ahead and use the zwiftpower.com to try and see where things are. Here we go. Reitzma. We're back in with Reitzma. And we'll probably stick with her for the top three just to make sure we get the podium for all of the women. And then we'll call it on the day. Sally Hagen's coming through saying that the power is amazing. They're super strong riders out there. Adam Pearson coming through. Thanks for the commentary. Hasta luego. Take care, Adam Pearson. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you tuning in and all your comments out there today. Coming on through with all the questions as well. Really appreciate all the viewers out there. And I think we're probably going to call it at this point. Reitzma, I think, most likely, barring anything crazy, is going to be coming across the line for third place. Racing is pretty much settled here for the podium at this point. I'm going to go back through and check out zwiftpower.com real quickly for what the results were, though, for and are for the women's race, as these are some crazy numbers. To give you an idea of what it took to take the W out there for Mary Wilkinson, riding for that KRT team, she finished in 52.43 today. Averaged throughout the entirety of the race 4.3 watts per kilogram with an average of 245 watts. That's into the red actually for her. So that's one of her best efforts out on Zwift. She was doing, it looks like 5-minute personal best is actually 5.7 watts per kilogram on the day. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and see if we can actually open up and see what her stats were on the day. Not showing up just yet, so we'll have to wait for those to come on through. But Angela Webster then taken down that second place, but a full 4:19 back. She was 2 minutes back at one point and then faded, it looked like, a little bit up to the top of the climb. Riding for Vixen there, 4 watts per kilogram, though. Look at the difference between 4.3 and 4 watts per kilogram. Crazy, the kind of difference that can be made up once you do get away. Average 215 watts for the duration, 53 point, that's her kilograms there, but 181 beats per minute is where she was averaging around. That is absolutely insanity kinds of numbers there, actually. It looks like Reitzma here, 3.3. She can be coming across the line in just a moment. She'll be taking that third place. Reitzma then, it looks like for her results, she's been averaging, it looks like, 163 watts. Oh, no, excuse me. That's O'Connor here. So we're waiting for Reitzma to come across the line, as a few of them are. It looks like Reitzma is maybe not actually registered on zwiftpower.com. So if you do watch the broadcast back and you're like, oh, why wasn't I called out on zwiftpower.com? Or you go to look at the results and you see that you're not registered there, make sure you go ahead and opt in over at Zwift, my.zwift.com. Log in over at zwift.com and opt in, as we are seeing about 8 women on the live results right now, which means a lot of them are not opted in to get a result on the day. So super important that you do that in order to end up with your results over at zwiftpower.com, and you can have that all tracked. As I think a lot of people who are jumping in might be the first races that they've ever done, or at least any races that they really cared about the results at all. So being unfamiliar with a lot of the racing, great way to learn about that and jump on in and get into the results over at zwiftpower.com. Reitzma here coming across the line for third place, 179 beats per minute. Let's see if she's got any kick to the line. 4.5 watts per kilogram out of the Netherlands. And this will be a third place for the Zwift Academy climbing race for the women's side of things. Solid result for her, coming up over the top there. 24:39 was her fastest time up over the top of the KOM. All right, that's going to be it for me. I'm Nathan Garrett coming at you from Zwift Community Live. If you haven't done so already, you can head on over to all the places. Zwift Community Live is live. We are on YouTube, Mixer, Twitch, as well as on Facebook. If you haven't hit the follow button on a streaming platform, make sure to go ahead and do so you get notifications anytime that we do go live. You can do that on Mixer, you can do it on Twitch or YouTube. All of our VODs are obviously over on YouTube, over at Zwift Community Live on YouTube. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Great job to all of the racers out there. It was pretty awesome to watch the accomplishments out there. Pretty cool to see. I have a feeling we might be seeing a few of these riders in the finalists, especially, Mary, amazing job there from Wilkinson out there. As well as Agner. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of the replays here as we finish out today. As always, great job to all the riders out there, and thanks a lot to all the viewers, and ride on.